Hey everybody, I'm here today with the Behringer DeepMind12, a very interesting synthesizer, one of my, I wouldn't call it my favorite, that'd be a lie. I think it's a very interesting synthesizer, I really enjoy it. Probably got three synthesizers I would call my top tier favorites. This one is still very solid though. It is Behringer's first foray, as far as I know, into synthesis. I know Uli Behringer created something when he was a young kid, but I think this was like the first one they officially did as Behringer. From my understanding, it's essentially a beefed up copy of a Juno 106, though it definitely sounds a little bit different. I have heard some pretty cool, convincing patches made by some folks that do push it into that 106 territory. I like it for just what it is. It's a very, honestly, it's kind of gritty. It's kind of a gritty synthesizer in some ways. It's not something I've ever... it's not a synthesizer I pick up unless I know I want its sound. It's not a synthesizer I just go, oh, I'm going to get some work done on this song and I need a synth to just make... You know, I gotta be like this. I need the DeepMind for this song. I'd say my bread and butter, that's kind of the popular phrase, would probably be the Novation Summit. I used that in the last video and you'll definitely see it again. But this one is... It's just a really cool synthesizer on its own. A very interesting foray for Behringer for their first synth. And honestly, it's got some really cool stuff that does set it apart. Mainly, I would say, is the mod matrix. The mod matrix opens up so much. It just opens up so much. You don't get mod matrix as much as you should these days. They do exist, and they are here and there. But generally, you're going to find them in the higher level synthesizers from my experience. This is, I think, selling for like $6.99 right now in the US with even Trump tariff on top of that. That seems like an amazing deal. Like, it's obviously whole Behringer debate. I'm not touching that, but I will say it is impressive to get such a powerhouse machine for that cost. That's all I'm going to say. So, with that said, quick breakdown: 2 LFOs, 2 oscillators. You get, the oscillators are kind of limited. You're basically getting saw and pulse square. No sine, no triangle, unfortunately. But again, this is supposed to be similar to the 106, the Roland Juno 106. You've got your 3 envelopes, which is really nice. You get curves. Jeez, why does not everybody put curves? It is such an amazing thing to have. Curves means not just, you know, the kind of static lines between your between the stages of your envelope, but you actually get to like kind of adjust if it comes in or it bows down and goes up. It really just adds a huge dynamic, especially when you're in the realm of making ambient or pads and string patches. Also, one of the things that really sets it apart is it has a fantastic set of effects. They, of course, Behringer is part of the big conglomerate that owns a bunch of different companies. And so you can see TC Electronic, Clark Technique. Both of those guys have some very, very nice effects in there, which, you know, people can say, oh, you shouldn't need effects to make a good sound patch. Okay, whatever. I like them. I think they sound great. Would the synth still be cool without them? Definitely. But those effects really, it's like having cake. Yes, a nice, delicious vanilla cake would be nice, but if you actually put some frosting on there, yeah, I'm coming over right away. Okay. So with that said, this was a patch I had made earlier today, just to kind of brush up on it a little bit. You can hear I've got some interesting modulation going on there. I've actually got some modulators modulating modulators, so it's kind of doing a little bit of extra work in there. Through the mod matrix here, you can see all that, but it's probably going to be a little bit too hard on the screen. In the future, I think what I'll do is actually add another kind of little block up here. Where are they? Up here. And that way you can kind of see the screen a little bit better. Still kind of working the kinks out here, though. So anyway, with that said, I'm going to go ahead and make sure this is saved. We're going to go to a new patch. I'm going to play this because it's already built-in patch. I don't know what it's going to sound like. It's called Bass Punch. Pretty nice. Nice clean bass. we are going to go ahead and wipe that out with the initialize patch. Another cool thing about the synthesizer has a ton of like secret shortcuts. You know, you got to play with it, you got to get used to it, or you can put some stickers on there, I guess. I don't know. I'm just going to try and do it from memory. So if I hold down program, you'll see a little menu come up. If I hit compare, boom, I get the initialized patch. It's the lovely raw saw and pulse width mix. I'm going to take the pulse width out and just go with the saw. As you can hear, it's got velocity sensitivity going on the initialized patch, so I'm going to actually reduce that quite a bit. It's really lovely when you're playing different, especially like keyboard sounds, but just to kind of get going, it can be kind of annoying because it makes the volume so low unless you're kind of slamming on the keys. Alright, so let's think. We go to VCA. You can see over here, it actually has some pretty cool, so velocity sensitivity sets to 128. I'm going to back it down. I don't know if you can see this, probably not. Let's see if I can block a little of the shadow here, or the light, I should say. It actually goes all the way up to 255, so essentially it has double resolution that you would normally have in just your standard 128. All right. Let's try about 32. You got your data entry fader here, but you also have your fine-tuned data entry right here. These kind of both work in multiple ways, but that's essentially kind of the basic setup, which is actually kind of nice. I did actually have an issue with this thing skipping a bunch, but thankfully I just shot some contact cleaner in there and let it dry very carefully. I actually took this whole thing apart and did it, which I didn't need to do, but I really wanted to detail it. That was a pain in the butt. These little gummy buttons here, they do not go back. Anyway, so I fixed that, which is really nice. So if you ever do have that issue, it's starting to skip a little bit, get some of this contact cleaner. You can look it up online. It's, you know, Guitar Center sells it. I think is where I bought it from. The idea is you spray it in there and it kind of removes some of the oxidization in there, or dirt even. And so it says on there you can basically use it immediately. I don't trust that. It's still liquid. I'm sure smart people have developed it, but I'm still not going to trust it. I sprayed it, cleaned it, wiggled the knob a ton, let it sit for a day. Anyway, let's get on with it. Very nice. I want to see something really quick. I am a little concerned that maybe I'm not even streaming. I should be. But you know what? You never know. And I'm so new to this stuff that I bet you I am messing it up. So let me just check. Let me see. Go to my channel. Says I'm live. I'm going to click on it for a second. Ah, there I am. Look at that. Okay. I can get rid of that. So it does seem to be working. Good to know. Drink a little water. Stay hydrated, people. Drink a little alcohol. Hopefully I'm allowed to do that. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe I'll just call it juice. Okay. So, what kind of patch am I going to make? Eventually, I hope some people might join these streams and actually communicate with me and decide what I'm going to do, or help me decide, I should say. But that's not the case right now. It's just me. Me and the old Behringer D. So, what should I do, Behringer D? Well, alright, we'll start with a saw. I'm going to add an extra oscillator, which I kind of want to see here real quick. Yeah, the second oscillator is just a square. So, looks like we're not doing just saw. You know what? Actually, take it back. Just a saw. Let's just try making something with a saw wave. All right. What do I want to make? Why don't we warm up by making a pad? I feel like those are the easiest things for me to make. So I'm adjusting my envelope. Let's go ahead and hit this button here so we actually get to see it on the screen. Oh man, I so want to fix that. Yeah, you can't really. Let's get that shine. Where is it coming from? Right there. Yeah. Well, I'll have to fix that next time. Okay. Okay. Honestly, a middle row like this is kind of a good starting point for a pad. You got a little bit of attack. Rolled off attack. Your decay comes down about equal amount of time, except that it gets interrupted halfway by the sustain. Stays there as soon as you let it go. release comes in. Release is a little short, so I'm going to pick that up a bit. Decay is too quick. Let's take this decay open. And I'm going to mess with the curves. Okay, so if you hit this little button right here, boom, it gets blue. And now you're actually messing with the curves. Look at that. I don't know if you can see it. Look. See, look, you can kind of see how the decay stage is either looking like it's sucking its gut in or pushing its gut out. Let's take it out a little bit. I think because of that, we can actually back down the sustain just a little bit. Oh, I'm doing the curve of the sustain. Oh, that's super nice. I didn't realize you could curve the sustain. Oh my god, I just realized that. That's awesome. Oh, dude. Oh, that's beautiful. So I effectively have like another stage, another decay. Oh man, good news. Okay, we're going to shorten that decay a little bit. Let's bring that curve down just a hair. Oh man, that is so cool. Oh, that's lovely. And that's just a regular old sawtooth, basic patch, just messing with the envelope. Man, that's just, oh, how lovely. Okay, what are we going to do next? Probably the most important piece of tone shaping on a synthesizer would be the filter. Let's hear what this just sounds like over this guy. I wouldn't say this is a amazing filter. You know, it's not a Moog ladder, it's not an Oberheim, it's got its own kind of character, but it's definitely got a little beef to it. It's definitely darker. That's the 4-pole. I'm going to go to a 2-pole because I want a little bit more action out of that, a little more brightness. That's nice. Okay. Usually when I set up an envelope going to the filter, I try to think, or an envelope to anything for that matter, I try to position, which you kind of should, a position where you want the sound to be at when the envelope comes to its final rest. So I actually can take that a little lower. I want like a nice dark finish. Okay, beautiful. All right, let's get this guy open, boom. So that's your totally initialized ASDR envelope. Your attack and decay and release are all flatlined. Your sustain is all the way up. That just gives you a completely neutral. You can see right here, it's just a big block. So it's not doing anything yet. So let's go ahead and increase the envelope. I'm going to do about halfway, maybe about 0 to 10 here is what they have. So I'm going to go about 6. Now I'm going to mess with this thing. I definitely don't want the sustain all the way up in there. It's not really going to do what I want. We're going to decay that out a little bit. We are not. I'm going to bump the the attack just a little bit, just so we don't have any issues with the actual triggering of the envelope. This is an analog machine, so a lot of times you have these like little gates, they call them, that basically are the starts of the stages and stuff of the envelope. If you have it zeroed all the way out on the attack, you can actually kind of hear this little click, click, very light, but when you've actually got, you know, 12 oscillators going, or at least 6 or whatever, you know, you're playing a big part, it starts to build up all that sound. So I always kind of take the attack off just a little bit, unless I'm doing something that I really want that percussive hit. A pad, of course, we don't. You can hear that amp envelope, filter envelope, is robbing the ending there because I had the release stage all the way down. So I'm going to take it about halfway there. There we go. Now we got our nice decay back. interesting. I don't know why it's actually doing that, but let's go ahead and bring this off too. For some reason it's popping open that filter. I guess, yeah, I guess that makes sense because they've... I might have to look in there. Maybe I'm not initiating a new trigger for every envelope. I'll have to look at that in a minute. Sounds a bit angry. Okay, I'm going to go into, so I got a little bit of attack, a decent amount of attack actually. The decay is quite a bit too. We're looking at about 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10 for decay. The sustain I'm going to keep at around 4. Release is about 6. That's totally good. I'm going to mess with these curves a little bit, mainly on the decay. I really like the slow, like the kind of like crescendoing down like this, decrescendoing down like this instead of scooping down. That's nice. Ooh. Okay. All right. I'm liking this so far. All right, we can leave the envelopes alone. You actually have 3 envelopes. You get one for the modulation as well, which is really cool. Let's see. What should we do next? Well, so right here is the keyboard parameter for the VCF, the voltage controlled filter. The idea here is that you can kind of balance out how the filter actually affects the sound. So if you kick this knob all the way up, you're basically taking the filter and kind of tilting it. What do they call that? A split tilt or something? Tilt? I guess maybe just tilt. Point is that the filter is a little bit less aggressive on the highs, basically giving you more brightness. It's taking less frequencies out. And then on the bottom, it's actually scooping down more. So it's actually more filtering on the bottom half of the keyboard, less on the higher half. And the idea is that when you're playing something, especially if you think, for example, a piano, you're playing a piano, you're striking very much shorter strings inside the actual body of the piano on the right hand side, therefore they're brighter. You go down to the bass side, you're hitting long strings, and those long low pitches, they're more dark. So this idea of the keyboard affecting the filter in this way kind of mimics the natural tendencies of real strings, real sounds. You know, lower pitches have low, very dark, ominous sounds, higher pitches very bright. So anyway, it's only a little bit, really. I don't notice that much, but I'm not using a whole ton of filter on this right now because the envelope's really pushing it up. Maybe we should take it down a little bit. Okay. All right. What do we got next? Let's start messing with this modulation matrix. There are some built-in stuff for the LFO. For example, you got the pitch. Where's a pitch mod, tone mod? I believe those are tied to LFO1 if you so wish them to be. I don't use pitch mods, obviously, probably more for percussive reasons, unless you really want some crazy, wacky sci-fi synth sounds. Tone mod's interesting. I don't mess with it much, but hey, let's mess with it now. Actually, let's go ahead and boost this about halfway here. Let's hear. Nothing? I'm going to boost it halfway while I'm playing. Oh, well, the reason it's not doing anything is that's oscillator 2's tone mod, and we don't have an oscillator 2 right now. I turned it off. So forget you, tone mod. All right, back to the mod matrix. Let's start with LFO1. Here's the cool thing about, another cool thing, I think they added this later after the synth had been out for a little while. With the mod matrix, you have to kind of wheel through all of these options. And there's quite a bit. You know, probably like, I don't know, 20, 25, if I had to guess. Same with the destination, there's even more. I think there's like 40, or I don't even know, I'm just guessing, but there's a lot. But instead of having to wheel through and look on this kind of, honestly, subpar screen and deal with all that kind of stuff, you can actually do a little shortcut here by holding the mod button down, and then you can select your modulator, your source. We're going to go with mod 1. Let's just hit the edit button there. So now it says LFO1 there. And we are going to affect, what are we going to affect? I think we need to do a low kind of low sweep on the frequency. So unfortunately I have to wiggle the knob there just a little bit. Okay, boom. So let's go ahead and I'm going to blast this thing just so we can hear what it's doing. You can hear that LFO is fully hitting that filter. Okay, so here's another little trick too. Instead of having to dive into the LFO and do this, well, you know what? I'm going to do it because I like to see the screen anyways. I was going to say is if you hold down the edit button and wiggle the rate, you can actually change the waveform that you're using for the LFO, but I'm in here already, so let's do, I want something really soft and delicate. I'm going for a real subtle shift in the filter here, so I'm going to go with a sine filter. The rate is obviously very high at 123. We're going to back that down. This is where it throws you off a little bit, though. I love that they added the extra resolution, meaning instead of going 1, 2, 3 and getting to all the way to 128, you're actually going 1, 2, 3 all the way to 255, 56, 256, starting from 0. And the idea is that instead of having one of those increments be a whole step, it's now a half step, so you get a little bit more resolution, a little more fine detail in terms of how you switch along the parameter settings. So, but it throws you off sometimes because, you know, when I see like a 75, I'm thinking like 75, that's quite open, you know, but really it's 30, what would that be, 35, 37 and a half, so, you know, okay. Anyway, let's go to the rate, bring it down to about 90, which would be 45 out of 128, your typical MIDI synthesizer. That's pretty cool. Well, let's go back to the mod matrix. Let's bring this depth way down, probably halfway. Ironically, this goes between 127 and 0 and then the negative because it's bipolar, but that's kind of funny, I guess. Let's try 52. I want it really subtle, so I'm going to actually take it down to like here, 17. Let's hear what that sounds like. A little slower. That's nice. It's like you hear the envelope, and you can't really tell there's an LFO in there until it starts to come back down, and then it kind of sits and breathes a little bit. Cool. Okay. Well, I'm thinking I want to try something. I want to add another mod matrix slot. Basically everything the same. This time I am going to do the resonance, the filter resonance. Idea of the resonance parameter on the filter is like you have the frequency of where you're setting the roll off of the filter. You know, say you're rolling off all the high end, say at about, I don't know, 2,000 hertz, kilohertz. I know, 2,000 hertz. Doesn't matter. When you use the resonance, you're actually going to where that cutoff is, and you're actually boosting that part. So you're actually getting more frequency, but right where the cutoff is. So you can hear. Starts to oscillate itself. Very old sci-fi sounds. Yeah. I haven't seen any activity on here. Nobody wants to join my stream. Maybe if I put a chat in there to get things going. join in the fun. Now, come join me. While I make beautiful, I don't know. I'll just say, hey y'all, feel free to chime. Feel free to chime in. Short and sweet. Okay. Okay. Hey, look up here on the screen. And the technology cool. Okay. So you can't hear it at all there. Or so you think, but you hear it. Interesting thing about traditional staged filters like this is the resonance. When you increase it, takes the bass. Just cut some of that bass out. So you got to be a little careful, really. I don't start thinking you want that twangy resonance sound, but then you realize you just cut the legs off your sound. All right, I'm going to put it a little high there. And now I'm going to put this LFO on there. Very nice. I'm going to experiment a little bit here by messing with this envelope. That's really nice. Excuse me. Ooh, okay. Well, we have a whole other LFO and a mod envelope that is completely unused right now, so we can actually play around with this a little bit. Let's create another mod matrix entry. I'm going to use LFO2 this time. What am I going to modulate, though? That's the question. See, we could mess around with the rate of LFO1. That's cool. I was talking about the other patch where I got a modulator modulate any modulator. Kind of neat stuff. I don't want to do that right now, but maybe later. Let's get into some other stuff. So we could mess with the fine pitch. Let's just hear what that sounds like. It's probably going to be horrible. I'm going to give it about a 28 in terms of the depth. We are going to increase the rate just a little bit so we actually get some action here. Oh, that's kind of neat. Ooh. It's a nice little kind of detune type of thing, but it's actually quite, it's a little too much, but it's quite pleasing. What if I half that to 14 instead of 28? I like that. It's very subtle. Oh man, okay, well, you don't always win on the first time, but sometimes you do. Alright, we're gonna leave that. What here? Okay, we're gonna bust out the mod envelope here. We just call it envelope 3. 1 is the VCA, 2 is the VCF, voltage controlled amplifier, and then is 1 voltage controlled filter for 2, and then just mod envelope 3. Okay, so let's get out a curve, zero this one out, boom, boom, boom. What are we going to affect with it though? What do we want to effectively increase some, decrease some, stabilize, and then release? Or even less than that, just go up and down, or maybe instantly be up and then slowly come down. What are we going to do? Let's find out. So, we already messed with the pitch, we already messed with the fine. We're not using the pulse oscillator right now, so the PWM, the pulse width modulation, won't do anything, nor were the tone mod. I don't know. Let's see what we got here in the end. Maybe there's some like pan, or I don't know if this thing does pan on separate. That would be cool if it did. One of my synths does. I believe it might be the Summit. Pan spread? Oh, but I feel like pan spread's gonna be with unison, but let's see. No. Fundamento, chain parameters. Okay. Well, before we do that, I actually came into the Unison Detune menu and realized there's some more stuff we can do in here to kind of give us some nice subtle drift. These are some cool things. Behringer has been really active in trying to cram as much capability they can in a synthesizer. For example, their new clone of the OBX8, the UBX8 or A, it has a bunch of cool features. I haven't got my hands on one yet, but they do have a whole bunch of stuff inside. But one of the cool things they do on that and this one here is they have oscillator and parameter drift. Oscillator drift will give you, these are digitally controlled oscillators, meaning that they are analog oscillators, but the tuning and kind of precision that comes from the digital realm is what's controlling there. So you get extra clean, extra stable synthesis for your oscillators. Now with the drift, you kind of mimic what a real, totally traditional keyboard, often voltage controlled. It's not perfect. It's got some variance. I know when I bust out my Moogs and I use like even just one oscillator, you can kind of hear it breathe and drift in just a little bit of itself. So anyway, let's see what we get. I'm gonna put it up max so we can really hear what it does. Oh. Sounds like a really bad orchestra who's out of tune. But yeah, just a little bit. Oh, what happened there? I think I messed up something on my... Oh no, was I on the VCF? Oh, I was. Darn it. Okay. I thought I was on the mod matrix. Let's see what we get this time. Okay. Mod envelope. Alright, back to the mods. Okay. Envelope 3. Oh, I'm sorry, we were actually messing around with this guy. So let's hear the oscillator drift. Very cool. I'm going to add just a 10 spot on the parameter drift. And I'm going to increase the rate. Let's see, the rate can go all the way up to 255. Watch, listen to this. Yeah, it's got that like, almost like FM kind of thing going on. Put it at 22 that time. Okay, I'm going to bring this VCF up here a little bit. I took the decay down too much. There we go. That's nice. Okay, let's go back to the mod matrix now and actually see what we can do with this pan. Let's see if this actually works. I don't know. I'm going to totally jack it here. Back to mod envelope. We are going to crank it to... attack at about halfway at 65, right? 60, oh no, that's right. 255. So 65, about 130, about 128 really. Which is obvious. There. Let's hear if we can hear a panning going on. Well, wouldn't you know? I've had the synthesizer for years. I've never messed with the pan. I thought that was only for unison. I only use unison, you know, when I'm doing some either crazy leads or really wonky basses. Okay, as much as I want to use the mod envelope for that, I think we're going to be better off with the LFO. Let's do FO1. Wow, okay, it's too much. Back it down to 43, down from 127. Not enough. Let's go 60. Well, that's just buttery. Man, that is nice. Wow. Okay. Very cool. Well, what am I going to use that mod envelope for? I mean, maybe nothing. What else you can do is actually pretty nice, is you can actually use the modulators through the mod matrix to affect the effects channels. So maybe we'll use it for that. Speaking of which, let's go and mess with some effects. So, you actually get a fair amount of options for routing. Again, you probably can't see it that well. I'll just show you. You can see that they're changing their patterns. Basically how the audio passes through these effect blocks, or slots as they call them. You also get the option to do insert effects or send globally, unfortunately. I definitely wish I could split that off and maybe have, like, you know, the reverb on send and the delay on send, but everything else on insert. But unfortunately, not possible. But you kind of actually get that in a way by coming over here to this different effects block patterns, but not quite. So this is actually kind of neat. So 1, 2, and 3 effects. There's 4 altogether, 4 slots. 1, 2, and 3 are all individually being introduced with the sound, and then they all converge into 4. So that's kind of neat. I think I'm going to use this as a, I guess as a send effect, because whenever I do the insert, whenever I do the reverb, you just lose a lot. You lose a lot of volume, which, you know, you just boost it, I guess, but it's not something I want to mess with right now. So let's start with this one. So I think for now I'm going to keep one clean. So we have a clean sound, you know, just that going right to the delay. I'm sorry, the reverb, because I'm going to do reverb in slot 4. Let's see what we're going to do for slot 2. So here's what we got. We got tons. We got a bunch of different reverbs. Like 6, 7, maybe 10, 11. Well, more than that, because you have a chorus reverb mix, delay reverb mix, flanger reverb mix. There's probably like 12 or 13 reverbs. An EQ, not worried about that right now. Enhancer, yeah, it's okay, I guess. Compressor, not going to use a compressor on a pad usually. Multi-band distortion, that might come. Rack amp, okay. Can't remember the Edison EX1 is probably another distortion. We got a bunch of delays. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped something. Oh, noise gate, auto pan, okay. More utilitarian stuff. Delays, got a bunch of delays. Ooh, a decimate delay. Interesting. So here, imagine if we did the modulation envelope on the decimation delay mix. So it would be something like this. That might be quite nice. Let's take it down to 9. Now let's come back to the mod matrix. We are going to go down to slot 5. We are going to hold the mod button here and then click the mod envelope button there, which does envelope 3. We are going to mess with a deep down parameter, so we cannot like a buried parameter, so we unfortunately won't be able to you know, do a knob off that because it's built in here. It was FX what, 2? Must have been, yeah, FX2 mix. Perfect. Okay. Let's see what we get here. So I did 34 out of 128, so about a quarter. And we are going to do, I'm going to do it really noticeable. So let's hear. I got an attack coming in, a slowish attack, an even quicker decay because it's got a little bit of a scoop out. Let's hear. Okay, let's mess with it. I want more attack, I should say less attack, more attack stage. And we're going to take the decay, sustain all the way down, but I am going to allow for a fair amount of release in case I let go before the decay stage is finished, so it doesn't just cut it off. I'm also going to go into the curves on this, and I am going to give that nice scoop. It almost looks like a, it's going to come together like a point. So the decay is going to go, attack's going to go, whoop. Decay is going to go, instead of going down like a triangle, it's going to go down like a double scoop, if you will. Let's hear. I want a little bit less. I want that to be very, very subtle. So let's go down to 24. That's nice. I actually think I'm on a little bit. You know what I'll do? Actually, go back to the effects. And let's take it down to 0. Now, the modulation envelope, we can actually kind of tell how much it's going to do. I'd have it set at... so it's going to basically go from 0 to 24 and back down. Just touch it down to 16. I want it real subtle. The mod envelope, I'm going to take that curve out of the attack. It's coming in too slow. I'm going to take the curve and reverse it on the delay. I'm going to actually neutralize it too, just so it's straight down. Let's see what we got. Oh, that is very nice. Really well. Well, I've got 3 more effect slots, except that I did talk about keeping the first one clean, so let's just say 2 more. I already know the 4th one is going to be reverb, so why don't we make this 3rd one a chorus? Or possibly flanger, some sort of, I feel like I'm using this word a lot, and it might be confusing to new folks, but modulation based effect. So I have a chorus on 100%, but obviously it's being split 3 ways, so it's like 33% of the actual channel. Oh wow, I think that's what it's telling you right there. I never even knew that either. You can adjust that. That's... Oof. This is an analog synthesizer, and it is amazing that I'm getting 12 voices out of it, but even that, I can blow through them by making pads. I've got long releases on these, so as those oscillators are still winding down, I'm starting new ones, you could hear it clipped them a couple times. Just the nature of, you know, unless you have, what is it, the Polybrute, I think now has like, it might be only 16. I'm excited to start seeing, like, 32 oscillator or 24 oscillator analog synthesizers. That'll be fun. But the cool thing is you can mask a lot of that by throwing on a delay. By the way, I think the chorus sounds really nice. I'm not even going to mess with it. There's a bunch of parameters in there, but I like the way it sounds right now. That is nice. Okay. Now for the reverb. We got the TC Deep Verb. That is TC Electronics, kind of like, you know, really nice reverb. Then we got an ambient verb, a room verb, vintage reverb, hall reverb, chamber reverb, plate reverb, rich plate reverb, gated reverb, and a reverse reverb. I'm going to try the reverse just for fun. And because it's a send effect, we can do 100%. Probably going to be too much, but let's hear it. Wow. That's really nice. I'm going to change it to a different reverb just to see, but I might come back to that one. Notice something special. Oh, it's got a little thing. It's like, are you sure you want to change it? Yes. Yes, I do. That's pretty nice. Man. Okay, well. Wow, that's pretty darn nice, man. Let's see, 159, 188. I'm going to increase the release on this guy because I felt like I was getting a little bit of a short release. Some of that. There it is. Let's hear it. It sounds really low. It just dropped to 2 octaves. Not enough. Not enough going on down. Let's go 1 more octave up. It's almost got an arpeggiation in there because of the way it's modulating. Which this thing does have an arpeggiator and a step sequencer. Very nice. All right. I think we're good. I think we're going to save this one. Category pad. And, here we go. Oh, nice. Delete. Okay. It's been a long time since I saved a patch on this guy. So it looks like we can hit this button to go through. That's cool. Okay. Well, it is YouTube, so we're going to go with the good old YT. And there we go. Now do I go to the next one? Over. Ah, beautiful. This is the first one, so we'll call it YT1. I gotta switch to a number. Alright, nope. Oh, I see. That just gets you quicker to those things, but you can get to any of those by just going up and down. Okay. YT1, what do we call this thing? This is, Lonely Pad. Because I'm all alone. That's the name. Sounds great. Lonely. Oh, this way. Small, there we go. I'm going to do this, try to be a little quicker about this. Maybe next time I just save it. You know what? That's what I'm going to do next time. I'm just going to call it Lone because I don't want to sit here and spend all this time doing this when I can just do this later. Lone. Okay. Here, one more time. It's a good big old fat chord. Do love me a good major 7 E flat. That is nice, man. It almost sounds like horns mixed with strings. I like it. Alright, I'm just going to double write that just to be safe. Okay. Off to the next patch. Okay, we have a built-in patch. This is, by the way, on Group H or Bank H. You get a heck of a lot of spaces for patches. Each bank is 128, so I mean, I think H is the last one. So that's quite a few. Probably like 1,024 or something, I don't know. Pretty great though. Let's hear what this one sounds like. Not my patch. That's pretty nice. Okay, I'm usually not a fan of built-in patches, but that's kind of neat. Almost sounded like it had a choir in the background. Okay. Program compare gives us our default. Okay, we're going to go with a pulse width, or just square if it's just in the center. Okay. All the way at 0 is square. As I increase it, it goes more into the pulse width realm. To get nice and nasally. Alright, let's just start with the square first. What I'm going to do this time is actually engage the second oscillator since it is also a square. That's interesting. Well, I already know what I'm going to do because I'm going to start off by modulating. I'm not sure if I'm going to do a pad. I'm not sorry, a pad. A keyboard or a lead. Maybe even some sound effects. I don't know. But I do know that I would like to modulate the tone mod. Oh, wait. Oh, but that's just the mod itself. Okay, sorry. I'm going to modulate the tone modulation with the LFO. So let's get here. We'll wiggle the tone mod depth. And here we go. I'm going to crank that to about, let's go 36. And let's do our rate up a little bit halfway. Let's go all the way so we can hear what it's really doing. This is cool. This is a sync button. The sync button on the oscillator too, the idea is that you have a waveform starts somewhere, right? Starts usually at the 0 crossing, goes up, goes across that 0, goes down, up and down, up and down. You have another oscillator. They're not designed, you know, they're two separate oscillators. You might hit them and they might start at different times depending on your settings, but most likely they're going to start at the same time for the initial hit, but they're not going to be perfectly in sync, so they're going to go and drift off on their own thing, which can give you a nice cool drifting kind of thing going on, a little bit of phasing and such. But if you engage the sync, it automatically, no matter what, restarts that second oscillator at the zero crossing when the first one makes it. So even if the second one's going real slow, when the first one gets right at that zero crossing, it brings the second one down and begins it again. I think it actually might be going the way up, it does it. I don't know. Nonetheless, that's the idea. Can give you a nice kind of like sharp brassy-ish. But every time you hit it, it sounds the same versus. Hear the difference? Okay, so now we're going to go over to the voltage control amplifier, and we are going to turn off some of the velocity sensitivity. I'm going to buckle it down to about 35. That's nice. Okay, then I'm going to come over to the unison detune. We didn't get to play with this because we had a poly patch set up. Well, let's see. I don't know. That would be. Yeah, it doesn't do anything until you turn it over to unison. So here's pretty cool. You can actually break up the unison, so it's doing something pretty neat. You do have, like I said, 12 voices. Technically, you have like 24 oscillators because you have 2 oscillators per voice, but you have 12 voices. That's what these guys all represent. And by doing the unison 2, what you're saying is for instead of each key press counted as 1 voice, you can see it lights up 2. So you've halved your polyphony, your amount of voices in half. You've taken it in half. But now you've got these real thick, tasty oscillation sounds. So we are going to put that on there, and then we're going to crank a little bit of the detune on there. We'll start at 29. Here, let's hear it all the way. It's like a bad Atari port or something. Cool. So what I'm going to do is actually go back to this guy here, to the envelopes, the VCA that handles our volume. Let's see what that looks like. Let's get out of this add stage. Okay, right now we are a block. So it's really cool to have that for your envelope settings if you want a really super percussive, like all in, all out. Cool. I'm going to give it a little bit of release. Just a little bit. Okay, the other thing I'm going to do too is something I like to do with even leads, even punchy, bright leads. If you just open it up and you keep it up there, it doesn't have any sort of dynamic hit. It just sounds like ah, ah, like that. So if you keep the attack off, low, whatever, so it comes in initially, but I'm going to put some decay halfway, and then I'm going to take the sustain and bring it down just a little bit. The idea here is it's going to come in punch, but then it's going to come down just a little bit. So you really emphasize that first hit, but it doesn't just stay wide open the whole time. So this might not be enough, but let's hear. So here's what it is, extreme. So if we took, you can hear. But the sustained all the way down, it goes to nothing. Let's lift this up a little bit. So you hear we kind of have this like thwack, and then it. We also have a lot of decay on there, so you're hearing that. I'm just adding a little bit to come up to there. Let's see what we got here. VCA, VCF, we're at 903. I'm going to mess with this patch a little bit, and then I'm going to call it a night since nobody joined. But maybe next time. Definitely makes me wonder if I'm having an issue, because I feel like I had a couple of views last time. Why would I have less this time? I don't know. Maybe those who saw were like, nope. I gotta admit, my weakness in synthesizers is lead patches, because I don't know, man. I love subtlety. I love beauty. I love things that like just kind of just envelop you in a nice way. Aggressive lead patches, or even just simple lead patches, I've just never been that good with. So I'm going to try and make more of those. I want to be a better synth player. So here's something we can do that's a little fun. I haven't even touched the ARP sequence thing over here, and we will do that next time. But the next time I use the Behringer, which will probably be a while, because I'm going to try and rotate. I've got a ton of synthesizers, so hopefully somebody will be joining me soon to enjoy some of those. But I'm going to mess with the glide, which is where? Oh, portamento. So one thing we can do is we can turn this into, I was going to say we could turn this into a mono patch, but I think I have to take the unison all the way. Oh, yeah. Okay, so now we've really done it. I basically went from unison 2 to unison 12, which means every single voice is used on every single key strike. But now, see, it's just completely a mono patch. So let's hear what we can make increase the detune a little bit. Got a little bit of portamento on there, or glide. So even though I have a very punchy lead, I'm still going to come off just a little bit off the VCA of the attack, so that it kind of softens that intro. Watch this. Too much. Let's see, I got it at 14. Let's take it to 8. Maybe all the way down to 2. Okay. All right, we haven't even messed with the filter yet, so let's do some of that. Let's see what we got here. Let's try 2-pole. No, we're going to go with a 4-pole. Okay, so that's the idea where I want it to. I'm using positive polarity envelopes, meaning you can actually tell the envelope to go low and do basically do what an envelope does, but flip it upside down. Since I'm thinking in a positive polarity, meaning it's going to increase the parameter I set it to, and then do its thing, and then come down. I'm doing what I talked about earlier, where I'm setting the parameter to where I want it to be at rest. So when the envelope is done, that's where it's going to land. So now let's go to our VCF envelope, and first I'm going to kick up the envelope amount to the VCF. You can see right there, invert. That reverses the polarity. I'll show some other examples of that later, but for this one, we're going to go with this guy here. So we got about 50% of the envelope there. We are going to use a little bit of attack, a little bit of decay. I'm going to bring down the sustain. Release is about 52. So here's something that's interesting. Right now, what's happening is the envelope's opening up and it's staying open as I play because I'm playing fast. What I want actually to do is to see if I can set it up so that the VCF will trigger. It'll start this VCF. It'll start the VCF envelope, the filter envelope, as soon as I push it. Oh, envelope trigger mono. That sounded like it wasn't. Oh, retrig. There we go. My problem with that is you get that grab. Let's see if we can mess around with that. I wonder if I put the attack back. No, I think I have to go back to the separate way here. So where was that in detune, envelope reacher, legato, one shot. Let's go with legato. So this way, it retrigs unless I. Okay, that's also part of it. Is I need to increase the decay because I really want that to stay nice and bright for longer. And kick up the sustain a little bit. So really, it's got to my playing is going to define the way this plays now because I said to legato. Because you don't know, legato basically is referring to the idea of playing another note before you release the previous note. So now watch, if I hear the full envelope goes over each note, but if I play it after, it stays at whatever stage the first one ended up. Okay. I like that. So let's try something a little different here. What if we get a little bit of resonance on there? Ooh, hear that? You hear what I was talking about? I can't hear as much that time, but it's because the amp envelope, let me kick it back a little bit then. It's the gates on the envelopes. We have 12 voices all doing it at the same time, so when that gate hits, it's 12 times louder than it would be if it was just a single voice. All right, we got to increase the sustain. Okay, let's bust up in the mod matrix. We have a very let's hear what we get if we match. We did the tone mod with the LFO one. Now I'm going to match that same LFO with the frequency here, just to give a little bit more play. That sounds pretty good. I'm not too ashamed of that one. I think, honestly, I'm just going to throw a little bit of an effect. Maybe a little bit of delay on here. Whoops. And I think I'm going to call it. I think that's a decent sound. Got to send. I'm going to go ahead and actually take this to nothing and go down to here. I'm always trying to anticipate in the future. Although, okay, trying to anticipate what I want to build with later. But what's really cool about this, thankfully they did this. Everybody needs to do this. Is I can actually move the effects. I can keep them exactly how they are, except for where they are in the chain. So I can move the delay to the top or the bottom or whatever. Very nice. But I'm so used to trying to plan ahead that I tend to put the delay and the reverb at the end of the chains just because, you know, just the way it is. In a lot of synthesizers, they don't have that capacity. See, my delay's right there. We are. Mod delay. Let's just go with a basic regular delay. Okay, way too much, but let's fix that. Back it down. Send seems very hot on that. All right, let's add a little bit more release. What do we got? 47 here, 52 there. That's pretty good. A little bit more. Just out of curiosity, I want to see what happens when I give it a lot of release. Last thing I'm actually going to do is I'm going to assign, I always go to the bottom for this one, I don't know why, but I do, mod wheel to the, tap the filter frequency just a tiny bit, there we go, and we are going to give this guy so that's interesting. I think what I'm going to have to, okay, I'm going to save this because I really would hate to mess with this and have to rebuild anything. So I'm going to crank the frequency all the way down. That is not enough. Let's go down here. Yeah, we're at 32. I'm going to crank it to half. 65 is good enough. That's nice. Now I can actually get that soft lead. Too much. So let's crank the frequency up just a little bit. Yeah, I think because I have some of the other things messing with the frequency. Let's see. 27. So I feel like I have to be at 27 on the frequency before. Not too bad. Not too bad for a 25-minute patch. Yeah, well, I'm going to go ahead and save it. Let's properly save it. We're going to call this a lead. And we're going to call this YT2. And that's all I'm going to call it. That way I can get off here and go live my life. ID2 works for me. So just for fun, here's the first patch that I made myself before, just for hearing. That's pretty nice. I like it. Here's the new pad that we just made together. That's really lovely. That was nice. And then here's this guy. Cool. Well, good night and farewell. I hope I see somebody next time, but for now, I'm going to keep at it because I love doing it. So, cheers, y'all.